Josh, anything you need to do, coffee, water, notifications, journal to get fully locked in?
Nah, caffeine is at close hand here. DND is on, lights, camera, everything's ready. Let's go.
All right, sounds good. Well, as always, over to you to kick us off on where you're at today.
Cool. So I've had a really good week. Felt a lot of the noise is low. Um, that's a lot of that crippling noise is low. Had a shoot last Thursday, which went so much better than I expected. Oftentimes, I have to show up and I have to be in control of everything. And a lot of times with the imposter syndrome stuff and some of the anxiety of things, I can tend to fake that being in control because you can never let the customer see you sweat. But this time I didn't have to deal with all that anxiety. I didn't have to deal with all that stuff going on, which, made the shoot so much easier.
There's a calmness that I saw it last week when we started, but and I feel like a broken record in the first 2 minutes of these sessions, but there's just a different shoulders are down calmness that I'm hearing from you. And last week, so much of what we talked about was like your process with the shoots, right? And like how much effort you're putting in before the shoot to try to get everything locked in. And I think we did our session like the day before the shoot, right, or 2 days
We
before.
did, correct? Yes, yeah. It really helped, practically speaking. But I do kind of want to run something by you here.
Yeah,
Um, Got up one morning, hit the gym, and just dog tired, and had this massive amount of fatigue set in, and I began feeling some of the anxiety. I began feeling some of the pressures and some of that triangle that we've talked to. Right, I don't want to forget that because that is so key to the discussion. And the positive thing that happened is I was able to hop on the treadmill and spend a solid hour going through, okay, you're feeling a certain type of way. Did you do it? And I started asking myself all these questions. Did you violate your personal values in some way? Did you lie to yourself about something? Did you present any false information to anybody? Did you this? Did you that? So all of the things that we've talked about, I was able to go through and practically ask, did you do these things? I was able to answer, no, I did not do those things. But it still left me with man, well, why do I feel this way? I guess what I want to ask you is that kind of a normal thing to kind of like run to the end of your run to the end of your rope and still not really know exactly where to go next or the next question to ask?
I'm not surprised that there's like moments still, right, where like you're on the treadmill. I don't think the goal is to never have the moments when you're on the treadmill feeling low because it's a lifelong journey and like there will always be situations that will make us feel these things, right? We're not trying to get I don't think it's possible to get fully immune forever, permanently at 100% perfectly the whole time. So I want to acknowledge like we're 3 4 weeks in. This is very very new, right? At the same time, because we're only 3 4 weeks in, there might be other frameworks and other things to lean on in different situations. And I almost think of it as like us continuing to explore. And we can look at the treadmill example today if that's what you want to do. We'll decide in a sec here what you want to focus on today. But us continuing to explore like what those thought patterns are, and us continuing to kind of bucket them into like, okay, what framework are we going to use to overcome this, right? So, not to dodge your question, I'm not at all surprised that there's going to be moments like that on the treadmill, right? And to your point, it could just be fatigue for all we know. Um, but I just want to acknowledge, like, as much progress as you've made, it's been like 3.5 weeks, right? So our bodies and brains are still kind of getting used to
Yeah.
this like new way of thinking. Okay. What are you hoping that we land on today with this treadmill? What would be this ideal outcome?
Um, I think the ideal outcome is what and how to respond to the exhausted checklist to make sure that it doesn't immediately go to insecurity, imposter syndrome, all of those things. So, okay, gone through all these things, checked all these boxes. At the end of the rope, do I fall into the temptation to say, oh man, see, look, you're just full of crap. You've not made any, like the temptation is, you've not made any progress. See, you can't do anything there. That's the temptation to fall into. Let's try to focus on, you know, when you don't have the language and the categorization and the answers, what are some things that we can do or I can do? What are some of the things that I can do to combat that spiral?
Okay. What's your level of confidence that we're going to figure this out in half an
Oh,
hour?
dude, it's a 10, right? It's got to be like we're rolling. I don't know, we're rolling dice and coming up sevens or something. I don't know. I'm sure there's some gambling phrase that I have no idea what it is, but no, it's a 10. It's an absolute 10. Uh, we've uh, we've made such good progress this far. Why do I think that we're not going to continue to make that progress?
I like that we're now entering this treadmill energy with, hey, there's an answer here.
Yeah.
We're gonna find the answer. I won't swear, but we're gonna effing find the answer here. Okay, cool. Let's. Can we look at the scary thing in the face
Yeah.
for a
So
sec?
yeah.
Okay, you're on the treadmill. The checklist has been exhausted. What's the brain saying?
Hmm. So it's what it's saying and what it's not saying. It's saying, okay, you obviously haven't made as much progress as you think you've made. So you're wasting all this time, right? Lies for sure, but that's what it's saying. But what it's not saying is, um, it's not there's an absence, there's a void of any other good options. It's not just that only negative stuff is being said. It's that nothing else is being added to that conversation. It becomes a one-sided conversation where the only thing in the conversation is the negative stuff. And that's where it begins to get its strength because I don't have anything to combat. It's silence. It's, there is no answer. Like, what do you want me to say? It wasn't just that my brain was like trying to beat down and lie and, say you're not good enough and all this is a waste. It was also like there was nothing to come back to that. There was nothing to come back against that. And that void was draining. It was absolutely draining. I could feel the effort and the attempt to say something, come up with something, but nothing was coming.
In hindsight, what do you wish you could have said or leaned on that
Ooh.
treadmill, if anything was possible?
I think I wish I would have had the courage to say, I don't exactly know what the right answer is here, but I know that I know that the bad thing is wrong. I guess I play out the scenario almost like it's, you know, an employer employee relationship where like the boss ends the meeting, right? You're in a meeting and whoever has the most power structure ends the meeting. Not a win lose thing. It's not like this, I've got to win and conquer the other side. It's a choosing to empower the side that I know is right and the side that leads to utopia and the side that leads to the promised land. I would like that one to be the one that's the boss and that can start, call, and close the meeting at its, in the appropriate at the appropriate times.
I'm going to ask you something that might sound insane.
Can't be any more insane than the stuff that I'm already talking about, man.
No, hey, nothing you're saying sounds insane to me. But I'm going to ask you something and it might piss you off. What if this wasn't about the good side versus the bad side? I
Oh.
asked you 2 weeks ago about what's the benefit of you having the fear.
Mm-hmm.
What is that evil bad side that we're calling right now? What is it trying to do for you? What if there was some intent there that it was trying to achieve?
I'm certainly open to the possibility of that being the case. I mean, I don't know if are we going to that old cartoon devil angel on the shoulder thing. I don't know if that's what it is, but like, you know, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say that there's something there, but I don't know what it is, and it feels draining, and it feels not on the not on the good side of that. So yeah, I don't know. Is it, and then do we go back to my biggest struggle is just what I don't know. Maybe that's the easiest diagnosis of it all.
Okay. So if I take a quick step back, I love your metaphor here of the boss and ending the meeting, right? We're gonna get the boss to be on the good side, the side that is saying, hey, like this meeting's over, right? And we're imagining this employee, and say the employee is like the loud voice, the what we're calling the evil voice.
Mm-hmm.
And if we look at it as boss employee, what is the employee trying to accomplish in this meeting? Why are they not leaving the room?
I don't know what they're not leaving the room, but as you were saying that, I began to think the problem with the bad employee that won't leave the room is that it doesn't stop. Like, it doesn't know when to not push something over the brink. Um, in the larger scheme of things, like we need we need that type of spirit in the world and in society because it pushes the long arc of justice to bend toward truth. We need that. So yes, there's a good side to it. In my personal life and in our personal aspects, I need that. But if it doesn't stop and it's not controlled and it just keeps going, it depletes all of the resources and then nothing can be accomplished. And that's what I'm saying. I want the good side to be in control because it says it has enough wisdom to say, hey, we can't get to that answer now. We have to stop. And yes, it's still raging over here and it wants to rage. And cool, it's whatever the outcome is, great. I don't know. But it doesn't stop. And I can't let the thing that doesn't stop be in control, except for that 10% of the time that we talked about earlier, where it needs to be all fired up and go. Like 90% of the time, there's so many other things of life that have to go on. And there have to be resources to be a good family person, to be a good business owner, to be a good member of society. Like if this 10% takes up all the resources, then the rest of my life doesn't get to move forward or function at all. So I don't know what it wants. I haven't kicked it out of the company, so I see some value to it, right? I haven't, right? There's got to be something there, but it just doesn't know. It doesn't have enough wisdom to know its bounds of when to say we've got to table this because it might be important, but we don't have enough information or we don't have enough this, that, or the other thing to actually implement what you're after. You can see it, but can't name it, you can't describe it, you can't strategize around it but you recognize it. And maybe that's the thing that bad employee does is it recognizes it and it says, hey, alarm bells, alarm bells, alarm bells. But that's all it is saying is alarm bells. I can't, what do we do with that other than to just be on high alert when we don't have a plan to get out of the burning building or we don't have a plan to prepare for whatever's coming down the road or a market shift or whatever metaphor you want to use with it. So that's I value it. Yeah, I've got to value it, but I don't know. I don't want it to be the one running. I don't want it to be the one running the thing. I just don't. I can't. It's exhausting. Like and then other things fall that you're trying to balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I told you we'd get somewhere.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Where in your mind have we gotten so far?
Well, to the point where it's like we recognize that the bad thing has value and that it needs to be there. We just don't, and we just know that we don't want to get rid of it. We just want it to not be in its box, but we needed to know its role. We needed to know its role and when to when to sound the alarm and when to shut up for a little bit because I can't get to what you're saying right now.
Hmm. And this is the fourth time, maybe, Josh, that you've said you keep coming back to this thing of table it and I can't get to it right now. And that seems to be the answer that you really, really like. And I just want to make note of that.
Yeah.
I think that's been very consistent. If we play out this metaphor of the boss and the employee, okay? You've got your checklist, these things that you've named. If we just default to like, hey, I'm going to kick the employee out of the meeting and I don't care if they're screaming, but I'm slamming the door shut, which is I'm going to go distract myself and play video games and just like get out of it and like put it to the side. I don't know how sustainable that answer is because then it's like, well, they're going to just knock on the door and I can hear them in the hallway. And yeah, they're out of the
Right.
room, the meeting's over, I'm watching the game, but like they're in the hallway. And in this entire thing, what I'm wondering what we get to is like if we can understand that employee deeply, then we can tailor our communications to the employee so that we know what will genuinely calm it down for the time being so that it says, yes, you're right, the meeting's over. That's what we're trying to get to here.
Yes. Okay.
It's not, hey, the bad side is good. But I want to have, and it goes back to what we said at the beginning, what is the most effing sustainable, rock solid way to do this? And I don't think it's kicking them out, kicking and screaming.
I agree. Maybe to help clarify the metaphor, uh, let's get rid of evil and good, and let's talk about introvert and extrovert. I'm a high functioning introvert. In public, all those things, I can do all that stuff. Got to have the alone time to recharge. The quote unquote dark evil side that we were talking about is a raging extrovert that does not give the rest of me time to process. Right? So, yes, valuable. Yes, good idea. Yes, great intentions. I'm bought into all of that. But since when it gets going, it does not stop. The whole of me, the rest of me, the majority of the way that I operate never gets a chance to sit, process what it says, try to understand it because the fire hose is just going and going and going and going. If you understand the difference between introverts and extroverts, you understand why it's hard for them to constantly be engaged. But it's a drain on both of them because the extrovert wants it done now. It's every single thing is the most important thing in the world. And an introvert is like, not necessarily. And that is what rages. And so, no, I don't want to get rid of him. I don't want to, I don't want to get rid of the extrovert. I need that. But to the point where the more in control of the meeting it is, the more exhausted I get emotionally, intellectually, physically, spiritually, because I have zero time to have my introvert recharge.
So then have we landed on this question of what could we potentially practically test to slow down the fire hose
Yeah.
to calm down the employee in the heat of the moment?
Yeah, that's absolutely the best practical step to take. Absolutely.
I imagine if we answer this and eventually land on something that works and is tested, this should work forever in any
Correct.
situation where your mind is going really fast.
Yeah, and not only should it work internally, it also will work externally when I come across real extroverts in real life that act the same way. So yes, it's got an internal and external benefit for sure.
Okay. So I have a couple thoughts, but I want to start with you. Like, should we get a list of potential strategies that you think are worth exploring, testing in these situations?
I'm really interested to hear what you have to say. I know the immediate need of that conversation is how do I slow down the delivery of information from the extrovert? Is it asking that side of question, right? Hey, can you explain that better? Is it forcing it to slow down and hone its delivery instead of just being a fire hose that sprays everywhere? Can we ask that voice questions in much the same way that we're doing here to slow down and define? If I can learn that trick, then that's the first step of not feeling overwhelmed by it all.
Play that out for me, the metaphor. It's the super hyper extroverted employee and the
Oh,
boss that needs a moment to slow it down, and the employee is like yelling in the office. Like, let's play it out there and then let's bring it back to your mind.
sure.
What would help in
Okay.
that situation?
So it's the boss is sitting at his desk and just listening to all of these things that the employee is saying. And once the employee has reached the point where he needs to breathe, the boss says, "Hey, wait a minute. Let's back up here. Can we talk about what this is really about? Like what is the one or two things you are trying to say to me? Can you define that? And let's talk about those things. And then if that is possible and that happens, then the boss can say, okay, this is what I'm hearing. Is that right? Much kind of like the coaching sessions that we're going through. I'm going to brain dump a whole bunch of stuff. You're going to track and analyze and say, do I hear you? Much the same as what we're going through. I'd like to be able to develop that with the extroverted side of my brain.
Uh, and that sounds like a very different framing than like the conflict, good, evil, boss versus employee. It feels more like, hey, like, let's discuss what this is about.
Yeah. I think moving when you said something along the lines of when we were talking about we tied it back to the fear and needing the fear and the benefit of that fear, instantly recognized we don't want to get rid of this employee. We don't want to get rid of this voice because there is some value there. He wouldn't be around if there wasn't value. So we've got to reframe good versus evil. We have to because that just is going to always make it a conflict. They'll never be on the same side. They'll never be able to help each other out. So we've got to reframe that. So moving from that to the introvert extrovert boss employee relationship really helps it become um, compatible and unified instead of conflict. And when things move from conflict to the ability to contribute together, I think a path is easier the path is easier to move forward on.
I I just I just want to acknowledge Josh, like you we went
Oh yeah,
deep today and you did an amazing job. Um you did an amazing job. This is not easy, and I just want to acknowledge that.
I appreciate that. If you make it the space effortless to be able to do that. I don't feel like I have to stress to I don't have to like stress to fill content or put whatever. I don't I like you make it really effortless and you make the space easy to be able to say those things and go deep.
I can see some tension decreased compared to an hour ago. You did really well, Josh.
I can't tell you how valuable this is. Not for for selfish reasons, right? Not for yes, we want to. We both have stated we really want to help other people out. We really want to show this process to other people to give them the courage to go through this. But selfishly, it helps so much just to have a space to have a space that that if you were to fake it, none of this would work. None of this project would work. Like we both know that we both have to be authentic with this in order for it to work, and that that provides a layer of accountability to not BS and to not show up and to not give it at all. So selfishly, even that has been pretty incredible for me. Um, so I guess that's I feel peaceful knowing and saying those things.
I appreciate you. I
I believe
appreciate
in
you,
you,
man.
man. I don't
I believe in you too.
I don't invest in people and in things and do stuff like this for people I don't believe in. So I believe in you, and I think I'm not going to try. I'm going to do my best not to get salesy, but I believe in you, and I believe you help a lot of people. That's how I feel about it.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Great job today. and I believe in you too. And I love where we're going with this. Talk to you soon.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, man.
See
Cheers.
ya.